Bonjour friends, it's your girl Frost Nicoletti. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than the kind of content that I normally make on this channel. Basically, we're going to be taking a more laid back and casual approach to it. You and I are going to be hanging out and playing a little game to help you get to know me a little bit better. So, today we are going to be playing 2 truths and a lie about your girl's life. Now, here are your options. I was once bitten by a dead shark and have a scar to prove it. Number 2, I once personally met, I know he's a bit chewed up from my old dog, but I once personally met Steve Irwin in person. For those of you who don't know, Steve Irwin was my childhood idol. I loved The Crocodile Hunter. Every day since middle school, I have worn a bracelet with the name Wildlife Warrior on it. That's the name of his charity as a tribute to him. I loved the guy. He was my idol growing up. And a lot of the more positive traits that I see in myself, I see myself as learning from him through watching his shows. He was a huge impact on my life. I loved him. I was actually playing with this toy when my mom came over my grandpa's house and told me he died. I was a little bit devastated. Moving on. Or the last option for you. I once personally saw the Titanic wreck in person. Now, I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. Here are your options again. I was once bitten by a dead shark and have a scar from it. Number 2, I once personally met Steve Irwin. Or number 3, I have seen the Titanic wreck in person. Yeah, isn't it crazy how 2 of these things are true? I'll give you a couple clues. So, back in high school, I went to a vocational school, if it's not obvious with what I'm about to say. My major was marine biology, and I specialized in sharks, so I know a fair amount about sharks. Another thing, as I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, huge Steve Irwin fan growing up. I had gummies, I had action figures, I had more action figures, I remember, it's somewhere in my office, but I don't feel like digging out because I have stuff piled on it. But basically, there was a VHS tape that I think we got from Blockbuster or some other video store. The Spitting Cobra episode of The Crocodile Hunter. And I remember as like a 4 or 5-year-old or whatever it was, playing the same VHS tape over and over and over and over again in the VCR, the same show. That's how mesmerized I was with it. Also about me might have meeting Steve Irwin. Remember, your girl was born in the 90s, so there was some overlap there. Here's another clue for you. Ooh, I am a massive historian. I meant to say a massive history nerd. Sometimes I can trip over my words. I'm sorry, but yeah, I love history. See this right behind me? You probably can't see it in the resolution, but that is signed by a passenger that was on the Titanic. Hell, see this? This is coal recovered from the Titanic wreck. One of the things that got me into the history field and eventually led me to getting a degree in the field was my absolute fascination with the Titanic. So I have always wanted to do that. I could tell you a lot. I don't upload as much on it, but check out my other channel, World Fair Girl. I have a couple Titanic-related videos on there. I've actually gotten to see a couple Titanic victims and survivors' graves. It was super cool. But I'm going to give you one more minute. Remember, your options are: I once personally met Steve Irwin in person. I have seen the Titanic wreck in person. Or 3, I was once bitten by a dead shark and have a scar. Steve Irwin. Crikey. That's low key. I'm not even gonna lie. I've told the story of how the Frostralia name came to be, but another little part of that is my love for Steve Irwin and love for all things Australian. So, man, na na na. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The first truth that I am going to say is that, yes, I have been bitten by a dead shark and have the scar to prove it. See this? I hope the camera can pick that up. So, what happened was like 12, 13, hell, maybe even 14 years ago. It has been a while. I got a little shark jaw as a gift, and I was examining it one day. Then my Rottweiler barked really loudly, super close to me. I jumped, because when I get scared, I kind of jump a little bit. I jumped, and right here went into the shark jaw. So to this day, I still have this little scar on my finger. Hopefully you can see it. It's not that big of a scar, but like in person, you can definitely see it. So yeah, your girl's been bitten by a shark, but not a live one. It's just my own stupidity on that one. Now, you have one lie left and one truth left. Is it that I have once met Steve Irwin in person? Or is it that I have seen the Titanic wreck in person? Both are really, really out there things. But what do you think it is? The answer is that I have seen the Titanic wreck in person. Not in the way you're thinking of. I don't have 250 grand or whatever Ocean Gate was charging to go down to the wreck. No. See, in 1998, I didn't do anything in 1998. I wasn't even born yet. I misspoke, I'm sorry. In 1998, a team of researchers and experts was able to go into the Titanic's debris field at the bottom of the North Atlantic, about 2+ miles down. And they were able to lift up I think like 22-ton section of the hull using balloons filled with, I want to say, diesel, brought it up to the surface and have refurbished it. It is, well, the piece was oddly shaped, so they had to, like, for the safety of both pieces, cut. Basically, it was a narrow piece like this, but like a little crunch up here. And that little crunch was taken off. Now that, if you're ever in Orlando and have a spare day, I recommend going to the Titanic Museum because you could see the little piece of Titanic that they recovered there. I've unfortunately never gotten to see it. No, I saw, as they call it, the big piece over at a Titanic exhibition at the Luxor in Las Vegas. See, every year me and my boyfriend go on vacation, and I let him choose Las Vegas that year, partially because I knew the Titanic wreck piece was there. So I got to see it, and as a lifelong enthusiast and researcher of it, oh, it's one of the coolest museum experiences that I've ever had in my life. Like, oh, it's the Titanic. I swear, I stared at this piece for like 30 minutes straight. I was mesmerized by it. It was fascinating. Though, I wish the Steve Irwin thing was true. I really do. I was just telling you about how big of a Steve Irwin nerd and fan I am. I'm not going to show it because my room's a little messy, but over there I have his movie poster from like 2003 or whatever it came out. Up there. I have his autograph chilling over there. Can I reach it? Yeah, I can. This is a trading card. And you see this? God, the glare on that. This is a piece of Steve Irwin's khaki shirt. It's one of my favorite things in the collection. You should start collecting antiques if you're into that. They're a lot cheaper than you'd think if you know where to look. Like, obviously, the big famous stuff is going to cost you an arm and a leg. But things like that really didn't cost me that much. The problem with a piece like that, though, is that it's rare. But, like, I collect all sorts of weird things. You see that plate right there? That's from a place called the Moulin Rouge, which was the first interracial casino in Las Vegas. See, back then, Vegas was a pretty racist place. They actually called it the Mississippi of the West. The main strip, black people were not allowed to gamble or go in on. They could work at places, but like visit? Nah, they didn't let them do it. Yeah, past is great, isn't it? As a historian, people are like, oh, you glorify the past. You love the past. And I'm like, no, no. I learned from the past. But anyway, this was the first interracial casino. God, my point in game. And once people saw how lucrative it was to, of course, have anybody be allowed in there, they let everyone do it. Now, the Moulin Rouge wasn't around for very long, but it had a huge impact, and it's a really cool piece of civil rights. This was a birthday gift from my partner, but I don't think he paid that much. Maybe like $100. It's all about knowing when to look for it, because sometimes things will come up. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Check out World's Fair Girl 99. You should. I'm not on it as much, but when I am, I'm usually talking about history, and as you can tell, your girl loves history. It is such a fascinating field. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me today. Have as lovely of a day as you are. We'll see you on the next one.